Today's topic is going to be very interesting. We are going to talk about political asylum, especially people from different countries, including Ukraine and other countries wherein we have trouble, should definitely look at this video very carefully. You all are going to learn a lot, and there are people who come here in this country. They come in on visitors' visas. They've been here for a while. They all are going to understand the importance and the role of political asylum in the United States of America. So, folks, what is an asylum? Political asylum, in layman's terms, means that you fear persecution because of your race, because of your religion, because of your membership in a social group. So, the bottom line is that if you fear persecution in your country because of your race, religion, political opinion, or because of your membership in a social group, you can consider filing for political asylum in the United States under Section 208 of the Immigration and Nationality Act. The bottom line is that people come in from different countries, and after they come here, there are times they believe that they cannot go back to their countries. Now, for example, you lived in a country wherein your religion is under attack. So if your religion is under attack, you cannot practice your religion freely. And if you practice your religion freely, you'll be killed. So that's one simple example of considering political asylum based upon religion. Look at the destruction of gurudwaras and temples in Afghanistan. If you belong to the Sikh community, or you belong to the Hindu community, or if you belong to a Christian community, and if your religion is in trouble in that particular country, you can consider political asylum based upon your religion. If you are a Muslim living in a country where in that country forbids Islam, and if you're in the United States, consider political asylum. If you are a Christian, if you're in any country wherein you're not allowed to practice your religion freely, and if you feel that you will be persecuted because of your religious beliefs, consider political asylum. So asylum requires a fear of persecution, and that can be because of your religion. And under immigration law, you have past persecution and your future persecution. So you can either show that you have been persecuted in the past, or you fear going back, and if you go back, you are going to fear future persecution. So the difference between past persecution and future persecution is very important for us. If you have been persecuted in the past, now let's basically kind of break this down for our viewers. You are from a European country, or you're from an Asian subcontinent, and now you are practicing your religion freely. But the problem now is that in your country, you cannot practice your religion freely. In China, for example, you have examples of Falun Gong, and you might have heard about the persecution of Muslims in China. And in such instances, if you are in America, if you think you'll be killed because of your religion, then you can consider political asylum. If you're from Africa, and if you belong to a particular tribe, and members of those tribes who practice a particular belief or a particular religion, if they are targeted because of that, consider political asylum. So from Africa, you see all these tribes which get into trouble. For example, you've seen issues in the Ivory Coast. You've seen issues in many other parts of Africa, and it's sad. Then, if you're in America, consider political asylum. If you're from Trinidad, and if you are witnessing a race issue, consider asylum if you have been threatened because of your race. And if you're in America, you can consider asylum provided you can show that you are directly fearing persecution because of your race, or because of your political opinion, or because of your religion, or because of your membership in a social group. So what we are going to do now is we are going to break this down from one step by taking each simple category so people understand it. So we spoke about religion. Religion, you can belong to any religion. If you're a Shia Muslim, if you have a problem in Pakistan, you can consider that. That's number one. Or if you're an Ismaili Bora, you can consider that. If you're a Christian, and if you're in a particular country that does not allow you to practice Christianity, consider asylum. So those are some examples wherein people can file for asylum based upon their religious beliefs. Now, political. This is very common because you may be having a belief which is not respected by the current political party. For example, you live in a country A and you do not like the politics of this country. You're standing up against those people. You're getting threatened by those leaders and they're trying to suppress you because of your political beliefs. They're telling you that the more you're going to stand up, the more we are going to suppress you. We are going to kill you one day. It's that simple. That exactly, if you are a leader in a foreign country and if you feel that you are going to be persecuted because of your political opinion, you can consider asylum. Now take an example that you live in Africa right now and you're standing up against the government over there. And at this time, there are other people from that political party who have warned you that if you're going to say a word about our political party, if you're going to say something against our leader, we are going to find you and kill you. And if they've threatened you in the past, if they put a gun on your head, or you've been beaten, that clearly establishes past persecution. So let's take this example from Africa, that you are in a particular part of the continent of Africa and you stood up against a leader because of your political beliefs. These people, political, party members came and beat you up and they told you to shut up because what you're saying against the political party is offending them. And you spoke about corruption in the party. You said that exactly what they're doing to the country is wrong. And they got very unhappy. And now they beat you up very badly. And now at the end of the day, you're very scared of going back to your country. And there's no other place in your country where you can stay, or you cannot even go to another country and settle. This is a simple example of what an asylum case may be all about. Of course, there are a lot more details needed, but we are just keeping this as basic as possible. There are times in political asylum cases wherein people do not have a lot of proofs. That happens. The leading case on the point is the matter of Mughrabi. Under the matter of Mughrabi, the testimony, I'm going to go slow here, the testimony of the respondent is enough to qualify for him. So you belong to a particular country now. And if your entire tribe was wiped off, and now all your records and everything were devastated because they burned that entire town down. So now you don't have anything. But based upon newspaper cuttings, based upon secondary evidence, if we can establish that we cannot have access to that evidence anymore, you may still qualify for asylum. That's known as the leading case of the matter of Mughrabi. The other leading case in political asylum cases is the matter of Cardozo Fonseca. Under Cardozo Fonseca, courts have made it very clear that even if you have a 10% likelihood, of persecution, you can qualify for asylum. That is one of the best cases that I like very much. Sometimes you go on the stand and you commit mistakes because you're nervous or because you cannot recollect facts. You cannot recollect facts because of all the trauma that you've witnessed. You're undergoing psychological stress. You're undergoing psychosomatic disorders. So if your testimony is not consistent, which definitely judges do not like very much, but if it is because of your mental state, your lawyer can use the case law of the matter of Chen. Under the matter of Chen, it has been clearly stated that minor inconsistencies in the testimony of the respondent should be made acceptable depending upon the facts and circumstances of the case. So it should not affect your case if there are minor inconsistencies in your testimony. So this is something that people have to know about political asylum. Generally, an asylum case has to be filed within 1 year. So you came to the country, you're from Mexico, you are from El Salvador, you're from Guatemala, you're from Africa, you're from Guyana, you're from Trinidad, you're from India, you're from Pakistan, you're from Bangladesh, or from any other country, you're from Europe, you have to file your asylum case within 1 year. Now, what happens if you do not file your asylum case within 1 year? The good news is that if you can show extraordinary circumstances, which means if you can show that things were beyond your control and it was impossible for you to file that within 1 year, that deadline can be waived. So recently we had a case wherein we had this person come into our office, and he was living in this country for a very long time, and I would say he was living here for nearly more than 15 years. But finally he said that he wants to apply for asylum. So we asked him why. He said he is a gay and he was very, very scared to let his parents and people know that he is gay. So what we did, we took over the case, we fought the case, and the 1 year deadline in that case was waived because the officer was kind enough to understand that this man was undergoing a mental trauma in his life. So, to make a long story short, extraordinary circumstances can happen anywhere. Another fantastic example is Ukraine. And that is at war with Russia. And even Russian people should look into this seriously. Now, since there's a war going on between Russia and between Ukraine, of course, if you're from Ukraine, and even if you passed the 1 year deadline, you may have a case for asylum. Why? Even if it has been more than a year, because these are extraordinary circumstances. Since these are extraordinary circumstances, then the court has the right to waive the 1 year deadline for you. So these are things that people have to know about the basics of asylum. Now what happens if you apply for asylum after 1 year and the judge says that you do not qualify for asylum because of the 1 year deadline? The good news is that the court can also consider withholding of removal, which does not require a 1 year deadline. So, as a backup, if you do not win your asylum case, you should fight the case. You should fight the case on grounds of withholding of removal. Still, if you do not win your case under the second ground, you still have the third ground open for you, which means you can still fight the case under Article 3 of the UN Convention Against Torture. So this can be very helpful to you. And it's critically important that when you apply for your asylum case, there are several factors the judge is going to look into your case. First, it's very important for you to work with a seasoned immigration lawyer who's handled a lot of asylums, because fighting asylums before judges, it's not an easy job. It needs a lot of preparation. A lot of preparation is needed. And never risk your paperwork in asylum cases. This is because if your asylum case gets denied by the judge, he can order you deported from the United States of America. So if you lose your asylum case, the judge can give you a removal order, because nowadays deportation is known as removal. And that can really get you in big trouble, especially if you want to live in America. So I cannot stress the importance of you working with any qualified lawyer of your choice. Besides that, there are other things that one has to know about asylum. Now, we spoke about religion, we spoke about political opinion. Let's talk about race. Sometimes members of a whole race get wiped out, and that happens a lot in Africa. It's very sad that these things happen. Now, for example, it's very sad to see what happened to our Jewish brothers and sisters in Germany. And at the end of the day, if this is going to happen because of your race, you can still apply for political asylum. Now, there's another category that people don't use a lot, and that's known as membership in a social group. Now, what is a social group? A social group is a group of people who generally believe in something that is not acceptable by that particular country under the norms, or you do not have protection from the government, because of those norms that you believe in. A simple example is, the best example for me to give you of a social group happens to be gays and members of groups who witness domestic violence. And the third group in that is members of gangs. So these are three groups which are commonly recognized by the courts that fall into social group. But there can be other social groups also. So if there's a country that practices dowry, or if it's something that is not acceptable by society, you can have your own social group there and you can fight it out. But the most common groups that I have seen over the years happen to be gays, lesbians, then you're looking at transgender, then you're looking at members from gangs who unfortunately get pulled into gangs, and above all, members who have witnessed domestic violence. Now, a lot of women actually suffer domestic violence in their home countries. When they come to America, the good news is that this is a great country. You can apply for political asylum if you have been a member of domestic violence, if you've been subjected to domestic violence. And you have to show that you belong to a social group of people and you were beaten up very badly, you fear persecution, and the government of that country is not doing enough to protect victims of domestic violence. Take an example, if you belong to a country like Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, or any country which practices dowry. Now, when you got married over there, everything was great and dandy, but now the boy's parents, that's what they use the word boy, so we'll use the word boy just to make life easy for you, but your husband's family is asking you to pay them money. Now they started beating you, torturing you, and in lots of countries, Once you get married, your own parents don't help you too much. Now you came to America. Now you can consider asylum, especially because if you have been badly beaten up and if you feel that if you go back, your husband or your in-laws, they're going to kill you. And if the police did not do enough, in that case, then asylum may be a good strategy for you. If you're from Mexico, you're from Guatemala, if you're from El Salvador, or if you're from any part of Central America, or if you're from any country, if you have been subjected to domestic violence, you should consider political asylum. If you're a gay, if you're from Saudi Arabia, great case, because a lot of these countries do not allow gay marriages. A lot of these countries actually have killed gays in the past, and this is also evident in the US Department of State reports, and this is also in human rights reports, and this is also in different reports and newspapers from all over the world that gays suffer persecution. Transgender is something that people don't accept. Then even people with disabilities in some countries are not accepted by the society, and even that can constitute a social group. So this is what we need to know about social groups. And after you apply for your asylum, let's talk what happens after you apply for your asylum. After you apply for your political asylum case, and if everything goes well, the good news is that after 8 or 9 months, you can qualify for a work permit. Then you can get your social, then you get your driver's license. Then what happens? Sometimes the interview before the USCIS comes before, sometimes it comes after. And if you pass your case before the USCIS officer, if you pass your case before the USCIS officer, great news, you're qualified. Then after 1 year from there, you can apply for your green card. So when you apply for your asylum, your spouse is covered in it, and your children under the age of 21 are covered in that asylum application. They all can get work permits. They all can get social security numbers after they get the work permit. Then they can get their driver's licenses and they can live here. Now, if you won your case before USCIS, well and good. If you lost your case, nothing to worry. You still have another chance before the immigration judge. When you go before the immigration judge, make sure that your packet is very well prepared. Make sure that you have all the documents in order. And if everything is properly done, you'll never have any issues. If not, you're going to have issues for sure. So these are very important things for people to know about political asylums. Make sure that you document your case properly. And the other good news for all of you is that your lawyer can be located anywhere in the US. So if you are watching this show in Michigan, your lawyer can be based in New York. It is not necessary for you to look for a lawyer in that state because everything can be done through Zoom these days. So at the end of the day, if you're considering asylum, keep a few factors in mind. Try to apply within 1 year. Make sure that if you're on a visitor's visa, if your relative is in immigration jail, you can ask a good lawyer to be hired, and he may be eligible to come out on bond by filing for an asylum. And then after that, you may be able to fight his case. And eventually, if he wins the case, he can also get a green card. Folks, we've done asylums for a very long time. And what I've seen in my entire career, it's very important to have the right documentation when you apply for asylum. It's very important to be very well prepared. And above all, it's very important for the lawyer to know the law. You may have all the facts, but if you do not know the law, that can also become a big problem. And I've seen lawyers, at times, but most of them do a good job and everything. And it's very important, that make sure that everything goes well with you. That is critically important in these cases. So folks, this is Attorney Naresh Gehi.